we have another guest. I think it's our 35th guest already.
Brilliant.
On the ESPN FC Daily. Gabe Tan is with us. Gabe, hello, general editor at ESPN. And my favourite part about your bio, Gabe, and it's perfect timing really, is Asian football takes up most of my time. Is it a fair assessment, given that you put it in your own bio?
Yes, it really does. And I'm glad that there's been a lot of Asian football at this World Cup. So clearly keeping busy. And I think not many people were expecting me to be still here past the group stage. But here I am, round of 16. So there's plenty to be happy about.
Absolutely. So tell us then, has it been a surprise, or are you thinking, haha, there you go, I knew this might happen?
The latter. But if I'm being honest, I wasn't thinking these two teams. But I did believe that an Asian team would get through. I think overall the standard has really improved, and it's just great to let other people see that that Asian football, we know there's been highs and lows throughout all the years since South Korea really went all the way to finish fourth at the 2002 World Cup. The quality, the standards really improved. You see many Asian players playing in Europe now in some of the biggest leagues. So I think we've waited 4 years for Asian football to again show what it can do, and I think 2 or 3 of these teams have not disappointed at all so far.
So that's where I was going, Gabe. I wanted to ask, because Japan to win their group, my goodness, incredible. And then for South Korea,
a group with Spain and Germany in it.
It's amazing. I mean, we talked about the stat, right? The fact that before that situation, before this tournament, Japan had never beaten a former World Cup champion. They do it twice in the space of a few days. Unbelievable. And then South Korea, in a very difficult group, achieved something remarkable as well in stoppage time. Which one to you is the most impressive?
Has to be Japan. In terms of results, it has to be Japan. Like you guys said, beating Germany and Spain, who are 2 of the last 3 world champions. I mean, that's just amazing. What I will say is, I think there was an element of luck involved, and I wouldn't say I've been highly critical of the coach Hajime Moriyasu, but there was a bit of smash and grab behind those 2 victories. It wasn't a game where they controlled and dominated, and you wouldn't expect that against Germany and Spain, obviously. So I think the result-wise, those 2 games, or those 2 wins were amazing. But in terms of what South Korea did, with their game plan coming up against teams like Uruguay, Portugal, and really getting that result when they needed to. I think South Korea were more in control of their fate, even though Japan ultimately did do something amazing, which is to top a group that also had Germany and Spain. So I'm sort of leaning towards South Korea having the bigger achievement. But you know what? At the end of the day, they are both through to the round of 16, hoping to get to the quarterfinals. But now we're talking about bigger fish to fry and a much more difficult task ahead.
Okay, so we'll get to those quarterfinals in just into those last 16, in just a moment. But first of all, I would just like to know, because honestly, we scrutinise this so deeply on the ESPN FC show. What was the thoughts back in Asia about Tanaka's goal? Was it talked about as much as it was everywhere else, it seemed, in the world? And was it scrutinized as much as it was everywhere else?
Yes, it was obviously scrutinized, but everyone on this side of the fence was saying it clearly was not out. So it was a different side of the fence that everyone was scrutinizing it. But yeah, and you get all these cliches, like for once the cliche that the ball is round actually makes sense, because that whole curvature of the ball needing to cross the line before it went out. So it was an amazing moment, because like you guys said, there was so much debate. But ultimately, I guess FIFA did come out with evidence that it did remain in play. So yeah, it was a great moment, because it also meant that Japan had to really prove and show their mettle, because that was in the 53rd minute. So they had a long time to really hold out against Spain. So we look at that moment and Japan showing their nerve, their spirit to hold on, and then we see the flip side, which is South Korea looking like they were on their way out, and then getting that 91st minute winner. So just those 2 days alone were, it probably took a few years off my life, but they were amazing moments.
Gabe, we've been going through this question a lot in this show. Obviously, there's plenty of evidence to prove as such, but we ask you, a fan has asked it as well, watching ESPN FC Daily, is this the most open World Cup tournament in your opinion, from the ones that you, of course, remember?
Yeah, I think just based on the round of 16 lineup, it has to be one of the. I think in 2002, that year where Senegal went far as well, Korea went far, Turkey. That was one of my favorite World Cups. I was obviously quite young then, so the memory is a bit foggy.
Oh,
but yes,
good. You're making me feel very old, Gabe.
I realized the moment I
mean-
said that I should have backtracked, but
back him
yeah, but yeah, that World Cup was good. But yeah, I mean, you look at the teams. You know, obviously, the cliche again is it's the World Cup. We obviously want the best teams to get there, but ideally there should be a good spread, because that just goes to show that you know, the quality all across the globe is improving. It's of a high standard, and I think we're really starting to see that at this World Cup. Don't forget, you know, Australia being part of the AFC as well. You know, we consider them an Asian nation when it comes to AFC competition. So that's 3 Asian teams, and you know, just different confederations wanting to see them rise along with, you know, the established order that is usually the European and South American team. So it's been great to watch.
Yeah, we are here for it. Okay, so let's look ahead to those games. Japan taking on Croatia. Where can Japan hurt Croatia? What can Croatia fear in this Japanese side?
I think really like what we've seen against what they did against Spain and Germany. You know, that sheer belief, and I think it was Bill Connolly that wrote a line that I absolutely love, which was Japan will make you suffer Japan will suffer for 85 minutes and then beat you in 5 minutes, and you know, that's exactly what Japan are all about. And you know, they potentially frustrate fans. Again, the game against Costa Rica, where they should have been dominating, they completely just sat back against a team that was sitting back. So you know, that was absolutely frustrating to watch. And then they go ahead and beat Germany and Spain with, you know, quick fire goals again. So I think that's one thing Croatia will have to be wary of, that you know, they could be lulled into a false sense of security, thinking Japan are sitting back, and then they go boom, boom, Ritsu Doan, you know, Ao Tanaka, Kaoru Mitoma, these kind of players that can really hurt you. So I do think Croatia will still be favorites, just because, you know, they are the runners-up from the last edition. You can't disregard that completely. But you know, the spirit that Japan have showed to, don't forget, those 2 wins weren't just 2-1 wins, they will come from behind 2-1 wins. So just basically, there's this Japanese spirit they're harnessing. You know, they're called the Samurai Blue, and there's a real warrior spirit with this Japanese team that could really prove hard to beat.
So on the other side, then they have to face Brazil, South Korea, a massive matchup for both, of course, but clearly on paper, at least, Brazil are the favorites. What do you think South Korea needs to do in order to make sure they get something out of this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one where they have to do what they did against Portugal. You know, really be tight. They can't afford to. Obviously, against Portugal, they conceded after just 5 minutes. You know, they kind of have to avoid that this time against Brazil. But at the same time, do the same thing. Not really give up, even though they won't be getting as much of the ball as they need. And you know, someone like Son Heung-min, we obviously talk about Son Heung-min all the time, but he is that player, as we saw with his assists to Hwang Hee-chan for the winner against Portugal. You know, he is that player that is capable. There's Jong Woo-young, Hwang In-beom in the middle of the park. Now, those 2 guys will be, you know, really important in, you know, Korea not going to expect to dominate possession or proceedings, but, you know, just making sure Brazil don't get too much time on the ball to really start moving it around, you know, left to right, and really try to find spaces in the South Korea defense. So I think South Korea are going to have to keep it tight. But again, I think the benefit for South Korea as well is the fact that they really have nothing to lose. I mean, you know, the pressure will all be on Brazil. Brazil are missing a couple of injured players. So, you know, South Korea do have to go in believing they can do it. And you know, again, with 90 minutes, maybe extra time, maybe penalties. You know, it could be anyone's game, especially during a knockout format tournament. So I agree that South Korea will be the underdogs in this one, but you know, I mean, there's every chance they could pull off an upset. I think every World Cup, there's always one major upset waiting to happen. I'm hoping that's not Japan over Spain and Germany. I'm hoping this might be the one.
Oh, yes. Well, we hope so too. And obviously, we'll be hearing from you again if that happens, Gabe Tan. It's been great to have you on the ESPN FC Daily. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.